live tapings. We don't know when they're going to happen. Do you? I'm checking out on YouTube right now to just verify that we have actually gone live. Yeah, we're live out in the web station, and then I'm gonna go over and check over on Facebook.
In these streets,
we don't want to leave our friends in Facebook land out in the cold. You know, these ecosystems are different. Like Instagram has a different kind of feel to it. Facebook has a different feel. YouTube has a different feel. I've committed to being in all the spaces because where there is a lack of love, let's just walk in that motherfucker.
I thought you were gonna say because you were a genie.
Like of the lamp?
Like of the Lord?
A genie of the Lord? Is it even a thing?
It is now.
It is now. I was telling Stacia prior to this episode, because we've talked for like an hour in the pre for this, that I've been waking up over the last 3 or 4 days thinking about the necessity to play. In some way, every day of my life, I want to get into the sandbox with my cool kid friends like Stacia and so many others in the Love City Arts ecosystem and just in the universe, and just play. And so this is an extension of that. I thank you for those of you who have stopped by to like check in on what we're going to be talking about. Tonight's episode is going to be all about the Black imagination, which is something that you don't really hear talked about every day, but we're going to try to go deeper in that. And if you got any comments, those of you that are watching this live show taping over on YouTube and Twitch, Twitter and Facebook, and also lovecityarts.org/live, if you're over in any of those spaces and you have a comment about what it means to have a Black imagination or what it means to even think about the Black imagination, we invite you to pop them in. If you in acting language, if you feel a pinch, then we invite you to go, ooh. Even the
what was it?
Stacia, before we even get into talking about the Black imagination, let's talk about your Black ass. Like, how have you been since we last connected with those who listen to this podcast? And we do have a fairly significant audience, so thank you all out there. I'm gonna turn down my mic a little bit. Thank you all out there who have been listening and watching. We see you, we see your comments, we see the love. And so since we've all been together in this Taking Up Space podcast space, what's been going on for you, Stacia, in the world that you want to share?
Oh, it feels like such a whirlwind, even though it was not that long ago. I will say I've been feeling really excited about creative projects that a lot of which I'm in involvement with you on, but just in general. But I also have been working with some energetic stuck points, I'll say, and kind of tending myself in terms of welcoming in a lot of new changes that are happening in my life. I've got a new gig situation that's happening and I'm very excited about that, but you know, it comes with its own anxieties, and transitioning out of the community spaces that I was working with is bittersweet, you know, as changes always are. So that's kind of what's been up with me, I think.
Yeah, I'm also feeling like I'm in the accelerated course of life right now, where it's like I don't know if anybody out there who's watching right now feels this way, but like this is like a condensed training of life. Like there's a lot of life lessons and a lot of aha moments that I'm having right now. Some of them I like to see, some of them I don't like to see. You know, like sometimes I bump up into something in COVID internally and I'm like, oh, that's not good. That's not good, Dre. Like you don't want to have that energy in your heart. And then other times I bumped up against ahas, full transparency here, and I felt like, oh, you know what? I want to kind of hold on to this ruby slipper, you know, and kind of use this for the rest of my life. And I, in a moment of despair, and I'm sure that, you know, raise your hand or leave a comment if you've been in any state of despair in COVID. Okay. All right. So that's okay. I see two. So in a moment of despair, I put on a meditation It's from this really cool app that I've been trying to get Stacia into and everyone into. It's called Eternal Sunshine. It can be a little preachy at times, but the meditations are really good. He has a little bit of a echo on the voice that annoys me, but the content is really, really good. And one thing he said one day when I was in meditation out in the driveway was, live free, stay free. Live free, stay free. Live free. I kind of want to. Can we stay there for about 2 minutes, Stacia? Is that okay?
Yes.
Does that feel yummy? Okay. I'm woo enough, and I ain't got nothing to prove to anyone. So, like, let's just remain here for 2-3 minutes on what it means to live free and stay free. And part of the reason why Stacia and I started this podcast in the first damn place 15 years ago, just an internal joke. We stopped and we started and we stopped and started for like a year.
Don't it be like that sometimes?
It'd be like that sometimes, and it never saw the light of day. But the genesis of this project was that regardless of what your voice is in the world, sorry, consonants. Regardless of your positioning in the world, you deserve, especially if you're a Black, Indigenous person of color, to take up space. That's why we call this Taking Up Space with Stacia and Dre, because our sole purpose here is not for the shine or the glam or the clout, but just to be present in the conversation, what is happening in a very, very quickly shifting and unstable internal and external space. None of us know exactly what fuck shit is coming over the river bend.
Real talk.
When Pocahontas was talking about just around the river bend, I don't think this bitch was singing a song about what the fuck we're going through. This is a lot.
The future.
And it's happening with rapid pace. And so when I see little glitter bedazzled rubber duckies coming down the river of life that say things like, as I eat my entire beard, for those of you who are listening in the replays, I see those little bedazzled duckies and I pick them up and I go, live free, stay free. What does that mean for you all who will hear this in the podcast replay and who are watching now, just passing through? That's cool. What does it mean to live? Stacia, what does it mean for you in this moment, like off the dome, unpremeditated? What does it mean for you when you hear the words live free, stay free?
I think that freedom really is, it's a mindset. It's a cognitive space. And from my perspective, suffering is the antithesis of freedom, because desiring is what stops us from being free. And so if you have a lightness of presence, of being able to go with the flow and ride the ebbs and flows of what is brought to you in an adaptive and resilient way, you are forever free, because you're not attached to any particular thing, any status, any baseline necessities beyond what the universe is presenting you with. Like when you have a sort of a resonance of faith about being protected and provided for, if you can get back to that place, you can forever be free. And that's how I at least try to practice and exercise what freedom looks like to me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And as a person who, like yourself, comes through a religious journey and a religious lineage.
AK cult. Watch these niggas watch this too. I can't.
I mean, spiritual mind control is a very, very real thing.
I think all religions are cult, though. I'll just give that caveat.
I'm leaning these days towards the fact that all churches and religions are like country clubs. Like, call them what they are. They're like elaborate theater programs. And I know that there's a lot of like faith in it. And I know that Jesus healed you from your cancer. And I know that you had a flu last year and you got through it. And I know you weren't going to make your rent and you made it. And Jesus did all these things for you. I get it. So don't send me any kind of like hate DMs. I don't want your fucking novels. Okay? I don't want your fucking novels. I'm sick of your shit. This is a year where I have come unglued. I've been in board meetings.
The recovered church boy.
I sent a loom this week that shook the upper crust and the inner crust of the earth, because I'm sick of your shit. I'm sick of people's shit. I really am. Because here's the deal. There are good lights. This beer's gonna, give me 1 second. I'm gonna have to. She just does what she wants, children. Mm-hmm. There are people out here whose sole energy is towards your misery. Like, they see you smile and they don't want to do the work to actually create conditions in their lives to smile for themselves, right? So instead of being like, oh, let me ask Andre why he's smiling. Or maybe not even Andre, like the nearest person to you that's fucking cheesing. And there's always somebody around cheesing for no reason. I dare you to investigate why they have this joy. And they might tell you things like my story, just one story of 7 billion stories. I tried to kill myself for most of my life. And then I woke up to the fact that if I just hung on for a little while longer, good things eventually work out for good people. It's just something I believe. Pick it up or not. I believe that good things happen to good people. Sometimes bad things happen to good people too. We can get to different conversations about that on a different day. But my modality in the world is that if you put out good, good comes back to you, right? So we shouldn't have any problems. But what the church does is creates this environment where there's all of these rules. And if you ascribe to those rules, some of them by convenience, like my mother just conveniently happened to be a straight person that aligns with, Southern Baptist tradition. She just so happens to be a straight person that fits in that. But if my queer ass comes out of her into that environment, now we got a problem, right? Because of these constructs and thought forms, these and thous, these graven images, these earth idols. Stop making an idol out of my dick.
Because it's not about spirituality. It's about systems of power and control.
And oppression.
And oppression.
Yeah. Did y'all see how quickly your pastor scrambled to get that live stream up to ask you for your money? All right, let me stop. Because
real talk.
This is how people end up telling my mother that I'm on the internet in a dress, and he's just the wages of sin is death, y'all. And like I'm saying, I'm not trying to make fun of anybody's faith walk. If Jesus dying on a cross on a hill far away, if that is what turns your crank, if that's your crunch, if that's your kink, because for a lot of y'all, Jesus is your kink. But see, that's not what we came to talk about today. We'll do a different episode some different day. But remind me, Stacia, one day we need to talk about how Jesus is kink to a lot of people, because it turns them on. It makes them feel good. They get all of the same rushes. They stand in these wonderful stadiums with their arms held high, and they get these wonderful sounds. I mean, Broadway level quality worship experiences. And I love these churches that actually call it that. This is a worship experience, because that's a little more
mind control.
Yeah, but that's a little more truthful than what it is. It's like Madison Square Garden light on Sunday mornings in some of these places. And I've watched even personal friends of mine step up the quality of their production in their churches so that it reads in the same.
Yeah, it creates a sort of energy, and the energy is real. It's just used for manipulation.
I have no problem with your country club musical theater churches. You know, I have no problem with it. I think you should be paying taxes for the betterment of the communities that you sit in directly. I think they should draw a circle around every house of worship and every place that is not taxed, and say, we're now going to tax you now. We'll tax you differently, but we're going to tax you now. And then that money directly impacts what's in that 10-mile radius from where you actually are. Think about how that would be revolutionary. If we took a mandatory portion, call it a tax or call it a tithe, you assholes. It's the same shit.
Civic tithe.
It's crazy. That's the things. So if we take a civic tithe from every church, mandatory, just cream off the top, right? Y'all raking it in. We're worshiping the Lord, right? So like scrape it off and then give it into community programs within 10 miles radius of the actual point. And Pokemon Go can do this shit for you, because every church is a Pokestop, right, bitch? So when it's 10-mile circle around every mosque, every synagogue, every church, every other place that wants, every Catholic church that wants to like tell fucking women what to do with their goddamn bodies, all y'all, I'm gonna lose all my followers. Y'all ain't ever coming back. I don't give a fuck no more. Because here's it, you're wrong. You're wrong for the way that you take up holy space in this universe and do not use it for the good of the people. And I see your ass. And I'm not going to stop being outside your churches and at your functions over your fucking potato salad, telling you that you know better. We were told to take our message of love and inclusiveness and compassion, Jesus washing the feet of the sex worker. I'll say it again. Jesus washing the feet of the sex worker. That's what we were told to inhabit and embody and take out into the world. Y'all in closed doors under your PowerPoints telling me whose dick I can suck. And it's over in 2020 because I'm going to live free and stay free. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Stacia.
No, get it off your chest. I'm here for it.
I didn't mean to like go there, but it really gets me wound up because they claim to be the salt of the earth and the food is fucking bland.
I'm here for it. And I think that's healing, especially for a recovered church kid. Like the shenanigans and manipulation and harm that is caused throughout many a church and Black churches, you know, this isn't every church, but it's a lot of them, needs to have sort of the speaking truth to power that you're doing right now. So we didn't even touch on the way these bishops and pastors are. We just had, I was part of a wonderful music ensemble at Lee University called Campus Choir, and we traveled all over the world and we sang and we did outreach and evangelism for the Church of God in Cleveland, Tennessee. I'm naming them on purpose. I'm naming the Church of God Cleveland, Tennessee on purpose, because you need to know that your fuck shit is wrong. And people can still love God and say your fuck shit is wrong. I can still worship and bow down before the Lord and say your fuck shit is wrong. And the fact that you had someone who was accused of rape in leadership on that campus since 2014, and that person just got arrested and posted bail a couple weeks ago or so. This is why I'm always looking for the fruit. And let me be very clear about this. I'm looking for the fruit on my own damn tree. And let me tell you something. If I look for the fruit on my own damn tree and never looked anywhere else, my life would be complete. Because the only fruit that I should be really caring about is the fruit that I'm bearing. But then I just glance out my window and I'm like, how in the world did they allow this man to be esteemed and be on that campus around other people if there was any shred of a possibility that could be true? Because people allow the cult of power hierarchy sort of wash away accountability for so many things. And that's what happens with these institutions. And, I'll just take it even further in that it's not even just church. I think schools are structured in these ways. Lots of institutions of power have this situation where they're not doing the thing, which from my perspective is that any institution should be a hub of consolidating resources and patterning how people can use self-determination to get their needs met, whatever that institution is. If it's school, through education, if it's a place of worship, to give you the tools to build your own spiritual practice and to allow people to organize around their own autonomous relationship with their God or whomever. But it's not about those things. It's about power and just negotiating different systems of power and oppression as a tool of manipulating the masses. And so, I wanted to broaden the conversation because, I think that there are unicorn institutions everywhere, but in general, the ways in which power has been structured and where humanity is at right now is towards means of control. And that's problematic.
Yeah. And what's wild about it, Stacia, is that people just go along with it. I think
it makes total sense to me, though.
I mean, it's logical. It's totally logical. I understand why. Because we've got a lot of really major problems and things that are very, 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 very big. And so, there's so much faith and hope that is tied into the same place that's also keeping people in chains. So you get this weird confluence. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it takes a lot of energy to be like autonomous. I think as all of us who are actually adulting have realized, it takes energy to be responsible and accountable for and to yourself. And a lot of people haven't been built up enough throughout their life to feel confident and to know the joy and pleasure of being accountable and responsible for yourself and structuring your life in a way where you have self-accountability and freedom. And so they'd rather ascribe power to an institution, a pastor, a teacher, a whomever.
Yeah.
Because then if something goes wrong, you can blame it on that person, right?
In the same way that I'm like, oh, I always knew you on shit, like that type of thing. Like it's easy to and then move on to your next martyr or your next idol. So easy to do. Yeah.
But I think the thing is that even though it takes work and energy to be autonomous and to think critically, it feels very rewarding to be independent in that way and to vision and dream for your own self, to build up your imagination, to construct your life rather constructing one that's been built for you by a template from an institution.
Perfect segue. You can't tell me that they Chipotle are not my friend Rich Rocket says that Rich Rocket, shout out to Rich Rocket, is working on an amazing platform. He's been taking in he's been taking in surveys and advice on how to start his platform and his all of his branding and things. And I'd love to see it. But whenever I ask, I'm like, Rich, what are your pronouns? He, him, Chipotle, girl. I don't care. Just don't be disrespectful, And so I love that kind of energy in a world that's trying to be so police. We're the police.
Saw the other day, and Won't You Be My Neighbor, I put they, them, she, her, he, him. And I know people get confused and they feel real edgy about getting it wrong. But in my own truth, I want to pattern that non-binary means to me that I truly don't give a fuck what pronoun you give to me.
I don't care either.
As long as you're treating me with respect, you can see whatever gender vibe you're seeing off of me, because my shit is fluid, you know? So different people see different things. So to me, like, I respect everyone else's pronouns and how they feel about them.
Mm-hmm.
Just for me and my truth, I don't care.
Yeah, like and I could get a bunch of negative DMs about this, but I think that as long as everyone's honoring and respecting everyone, as long as, and we know that's not what's happening. So let me just caveat that by saying that, but I'll preface that by saying that. But if everyone is just minding their business and kind of doing their thing, then pronouns kind of become secondary to like the actual thing at hand of like living. Like I like, regardless of what you call me, and I know that pronouns are important and that people's identities matter, but I'm not really concerned right now with what you call me. I'm concerned as a Black man in America with living.
How you treat me.
How you treat me. And that was a wonderful pointing towards what we came to speak about before I went off into the deep end about everything and everybody. You know, the Black imagination, like how we see the harm caused in our community, we see the violence in our community, we see the pain caused not from out of a vacuum, like literally like caused from 400, 500 years of systemic and systematic oppression. Mm-hmm. And so it makes sense that we would be downcast and downtrodden and sometimes not feeling as capable as we actually are. And what we gathered to talk about tonight was what it looks like when our imaginations actually burn like that sun behind Stacia, when our Black imaginations burn. And then I also want to talk a little bit as we walk through this conversation, if it's okay, Stacia, about the white imagination and how what we're trying to do ain't that. What were your thoughts about the Black?
I love where you started from, because one of the places I wanted to start with is that, and a friend of mine kind of articulated this to me, and I think it's true, that it is a trauma response to sort of be rigid in imagination, right? Because a traumatized mind is stuck in the trauma and stuck in believing that that's just going to be replicated. And a part of that process is not being able to dream and imagine what is possible and to see and feel the reality of the fact that you aren't in that situation of trauma anymore. What's challenging for the Black experience is that we're not fully out of the trauma, you know, we're not fully out of it. And so it makes sense that it's a real struggle and a challenge for us to imagine and dream. But even in situations of trauma, it is possible, and things are possible when you believe that they're possible. And when you start to have conversations like the one that we're having, where we tease out what it looks like to build a Black imaginary. Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the ways at which I've been trying to heal the trauma of the Black collective consciousness and myself is I will no longer watch slave narratives. At all? No, absolutely not. Mm-hmm. I don't do it. Do it. And in general, I am very hard. Sometimes I'll give a little bit in terms of horror because I like campy horror films and stuff, but I have really high threshold for what level of violence I will allow myself to consume in terms of Black bodies on film. Yeah. Because that shit is traumatic and those things are happening.
And I don't want to normalize that shit as something that is common to see on stage, screen, and on your local corner. I think these things have far-reaching effects.
Absolutely. And that seeing those images over and over pathologize, or to break it down, they build characters of the Black villain, the Black, it makes Black violence porn, essentially. And so a way for us to detract from that is to feed ourselves through through visual imagery as well as text imagery, which I also want to get into in this conversation. But seeing things where we have Black characters who are in fantastical spaces. Even, I will say, and I wrote a blog about this, that like I think even seeing like Black sitcoms build on the Black imaginary, because even just to see happy, healthy, thriving Black families is normal. But because we are traumatized as a people, seeing those normal situations is like on the pathway towards being able to imagine more for ourselves. In my perspective.
Right. So we it's not like we're viewing that's like we see the Huxtables and then Andre and the kids on Blackish. I forget what their last name is on Blackish, but we see them as like, that's aspirational. That's something to get to. That's not actually me seeing myself. Like no one is actually chronicling the life of a creative in New York City living all this fuck shit. Like even that even what we witness as even the fodder that we have in television shows and things to fuel our imagination are outside of our reach or have traditionally felt that way. Is that what you're pointing to?
Sort of. Yeah, I think what I'm saying is that a lot of people are living in poverty. And so being able to see a thriving upper middle class Black family is also a part of the Black imagination. Yeah. And a thing that our brain does, right, is that when we consume images in general, even when we imagine things just without having seeing it on film, if we see something enough, if we focus on images enough, our brain will begin to pattern recognize that as a part of our data of what has happened in our life, as if it has happened, which is why it's a therapeutic practice to sort of visualize yourself in situations that you wanted, or visualize saying something that you don't have an opportunity to say to somebody to get closure, or all of these things. And so being able to see these scenarios where we see high-powered Black women, where we see gay Black couples, where we see thriving young Black professionals like in Living Single.
Right.
All of those things, even though it's not like fantasy or sci-fi, I think also heal the Black imaginary, because it's helping to create this this context in which Black people are just humans,
Just normal. We don't breathe fire. We don't, lift cars and throw them or anything like that.
In the morning, I low-key might.
Before you have your coffee, specialty made, over your 2-hour drip Colombian. What kind of beans are you fucking with right now, Stacia, just as an aside?
Oh, right now I got some Ethiopian light roast. Gotta keep it black.
Casually, that's it.
But light roast, because I need that caffeine.
I love it. Do you think that we as a people even can fathom how awesome we are truly because of the conditions and the environment that we've been in? Because I ask myself this a lot. Like, I had teachers mostly white in my life. Well, a healthy balance of Black and white teachers, but I think about the white teachers that were woven in, like, what did they believe about me? A lot of them believed me capable, but if there was any kind of like thing in their imagination that would see me as, Black people can do this, they can go this far, but they can't go that far.
Ooh, I love that you brought that up.
Okay, go for it then.
I love that you brought that up, because I think
David Kwong Pham is in the midst, by the way. Just hey, Dave.
David, one of my personal faves.
That's my
buddy. But I was just gonna say that, like, our imagination can definitely be impacted by the community around us, because I think there is a collective consciousness that is interwoven into our independent consciousness. And so when you're being signaled by people in places, in positions of power, that you're only capable of so much, especially when you're in the, you know, pivotal developmental stages of like adolescence and childhood, you're sponging up like what adults think about you and looking for affirmation. So every time you're getting signaled something about yourself and you are racialized by somebody who looks different than you, especially.
Can I splice in? I was affirmed by a lot of my white teachers from elementary school onward, but I often wonder how much of that affirmation was tied around respectability, and then how that keeps me silent as an activist in 2020. Do you see the through line of that? Like I had older white ladies in the South, in Virginia, patting on my head. You're a scholastic standout. You're gifted and talented. Keep doing this. They were forming me, but forming me around sometimes a respectability politic. Not all of them, because I don't want to get emails from y'all either. But a lot of them were like, you know, he's a nice boy. And what does it mean for a black man or a black growing man or someone who's turning into a man in Virginia to be a good boy? You know, a lot of that has to do with the silence of me and my manhood as viewed through the white gaze.
Right. And whether you fit into the performance of what white people think our places should be, right? It's like, oh, do you, because a lot of times I think when white superiors say to black people that, like, especially in like education situations, you know, that we're talented or gifted and we're so articulate. I love that one. You're so well spoken. You're so articulate.
He's so articulate.
What they mean is that we're digestible to them, and it's, you know, these intersections of race and class and respectability politics, right? Where they're giving these dopamine hits of social affirmation to say, yes, keep performing towards whiteness because that will get you far. That will gain you
keep performing towards whiteness. And so what happens to our black imagination is we say, if I behave in these ways and I tap dance enough, maybe they will let me inside the slave house. But then I see it. Come on. What you got?
Well, I was just going to say, and this is another thing that I was taking from our last Won't You Be My Neighbor conversation is, you know, I feel like I did a whole white femme drag for a lot of my life, right? And because I have albinism, it was easy for me to do that too. I can grow my hair long, so I straightened it. You know, I would dress in this like pretty high femme way and like play that role because I was signaled, and sometimes in very vocal ways. Like when I would every time I would straighten my hair, I would get the, wow, your hair is so beautiful when you straighten it. I love when you straighten your hair. You look so good when your hair is straight. Or, you know, if I'm presenting in a more feminine way, like, I love this whole thing that you're doing. And like
they do have ways of kind of letting you know that is okay, but that's not okay. And it's like gentle nudges over years, especially for those of us who've worked in majority white professional spaces. It's like, I like that on you. Like when I was wearing the bow tie, but when I wore the dashiki to work, that's festive.
Right.
It's like that little, go ahead.
Well, and that's how it fucks with our imagination, honestly, is because when we present in creative ways that are affirming to us, we have to either deal with silence or microaggressions. So then that can temper how we see ourselves, what is possible for us to have success when we're being authentic. Right, it signals and
I want to be very clear when I say this. I'm dropping this on purpose as a seed. In that framework
of a hierarchical, like white supremacist
in
institutional
that
framework.
bullshit that is changing right now. And I want to serve notice to all of the forces of white supremacy. Your ass, your days are numbered, because we're not going back in reverse.
Well, and to get on some woo-woo spirituality tip, I honestly have been shedding the performance, I'll say very strongly, over the past 3 years in particular. And so, like, the person that I am now, I mean, yes, we're all fluid and changing, so I don't want to say I've always been the same person. But, like, there are literally images of 12-year-old Stacia dressed in a pretty butch way in all FUBU with a beanie on, yes. Like 12-year-old me. Like, anyone who knows 12-year-old Stacia knows that I was about that life, basically dressed in the way that I am as a 12-year-old
totally
right now.
Makes sense.
And so, like, it's sad though that it took me until I was in my late 20s to believe that I could cut off all my hair, I could wear, you know, button downs and sort of, you know, more masculine attire and presentation and be taken seriously, and still perform my job and still get the things. Like, it took me that long to believe that that was possible. Because
do people relate to you differently depending on how you present?
I actually, ironically, and this probably is another conversation for another episode, but I actually feel, and I don't know if this is because I'm more in my own self-actualization or because of patriarchy, but my theory is patriarchy. I actually feel that people give me more respect now that I present in a masculine way. People were nicer to me and they were more socially performative to me when I was high femme. But I have received more respect and attention and just like energy of being taken seriously as I've increasingly presented in a masculine way in professional settings.
Gotcha. Yeah, because of the patriarchy. So I mean, how, if you were to give, like, pivoting into a more productive place, and David Kwong Pham, we see you. Okay, so David says this, and I'm gonna drop it in the comments for you, Stacia, so that you can get all of the juicy, because I would love to hear your comments about it. Let's see. I'll put it over here. Let's see. There it is, Stacia. He says people peddle philosophy to people who are not well read.
He dragged the asses, and it's so true.
Once Black folks get educated, you find out that debates are not search. It's actually affirmation. The last part lost me. The first part, people peddle philosophy to people who are not. If you're still in the audience, David Kwong Pham, in our live audience.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out the last part.
Yeah.
Find out.
People peddle. Talk about people peddle philosophy to people who are not well read, because that'll preach. Then once we get into the other part, I start getting lost. It's true though. Like, I don't know any other way beyond the programs that you and I are working on to develop of listening practices and getting people at round tables and actually having discussions and building actual networks of mutual aid and support that are fortified and reliable. I don't know any other way to do it, because when you do try to say these lofty concepts of love everybody, you know, highbrow, far-fetched ideas like love everybody, you know, like the things that you have to go and get like a bachelor's, a master's, and a doctor and a postdoc for, and you get all of that so they can tell you love everybody.
Truly, a theological PhD.
Yeah. And we say love everybody the best you can. Don't fuck with everybody. I don't fuck with everybody, but I extend love to everyone. If you want to look up my new philosophy in life that I've kind of sponged in COVID, his name is Danda Pandey. You can look him up on YouTube for free. I'm not selling you anything. Most of your freedom is free, which we can talk about in a second. Most of your freedom is actually free. And anyway, Danda Pandey talks about being compassionately detached, which is right up my Aquarius alley. I love it.
Real talk.
And when you are right. And when you're compassionately detached, you recognize that, you know, oh, I can yell and yell and yell at these people, and they're not going to understand that my black ass deserves to just live because I breathe. Like, I fell out of my mama too, and she loves me too. Maybe instead of calling this the Black Lives Matter movement, we should call it I fell out of my mother's vagina too 2020. Would that work for you, ignorant assholes? Would you start to feel in your evil ass terrorist white hearts? Would that make you feel if I said I fell out of my mother's vagina too?
No, because a woke warrior would say, see, cesarean section lives matter as well.
Everybody wants to talk about everything but the actual love part. Now, people will listen to this later who I don't fuck with. And yes, I'm talking to you. You know specifically because I told you before you made your exit why we don't fuck with anybody anymore. And that could be any of the 20 of you, including my ex-husband. You know exactly the reason why I'm not there anymore. So don't feign confusion.
And don't mine too.
Throw Stacia. I'm talking to your Stacia's ex too. Ex-husband. I'm talking to you too. Don't feign confusion. You know why the fuck we left. So I'm not talking. We love you. We extend love. We want blessings upon your life.
Always.
Even my husband, who I won't name, I almost did, but my ex-husband, may you be happy. May you be healthy. And may you be free of all suffering. And this is a joke for Stacia, because Stacia's not extending that to hers. But I'm going to say, may you be happy, Maitland. May you be healthy, Maitland. And may you be free of suffering on tonight, because you and the other 20 people that may or may not pop through, like, y'all need to know, like, chains are gone.
Yeah, no, it's all love. No, but also on that, I love that you brought up the dispassionate compassion tip.
That's where I was
going. I really have been living on that vibe. I really have been living. I've been trying to come back to that and circling back to the 4 agreements with not taking things personally. Is that when you live from a place of dispassionate compassion, you're able to sort of hold compassion for ignorance. It doesn't mean that you don't hold people accountable or that you don't create your own boundaries and space, but you don't have to make it a personal affront that somebody is behaving ignorantly or that somebody doesn't have the imagination. And this is bring me back if I go too far on this one, but it's
go. And then I'll tell you what David finally said, but go. Yes.
A personal thing that I've been working on professionally is that I keep coming again and again to these spaces where people, I sell myself an interview for having all these creative and innovative ideas. I work in the field of sustainability, environmental justice, community organizing. Yes. I'm a very creative thinker. I'm a very strategic thinker. And so although I'm very innovative and creative, I want to build shit. I'm not just sort of out here on a cloud thinking up things that are not practical because I like to get shit done. Right. But what I found over and over again is that I grow and expand and take in information and life experience and make relationship connections and do the pattern recognition flow that I have. Mm-hmm. I quickly expand faster than the institutions within which I reside to accommodate them. And I think particularly because I am in this body. Now, whether people read me as, it's a curious thing.
Wait. Do you think that if you were like a true, I'm so rude. Like, do you think that if you were a real white lady instead of a fake white lady, that your ideas would be taken seriously?
I think if I was a white man, they would be taken seriously.
But you don't think if you were a white lady, like if you?
I think it would be a quicker leap. I think it would be a quicker leap if I was a white woman, but the quickest if I was a white man.
For the same exact ideas, what you're pointing to.
And it's funny because, like, on the surface, and this is how deep sort of the fuck shit of race and culture goes. White people might read me on the surface as white, but my politics are very steady in terms of how I come across and how I speak with a Black voice. And so even if they're not aware of it, they still respond to my ass as a Black person. And that's what people don't understand, because I think sometimes when people hear me talk about like feeling disgruntled, they're like, this just another light-skinned bitch has got something to prove and da 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 da. And like, maybe that's true, you know, whatever. You can think whatever you want to feel. But what I do know is that I have very similar experiences to other Black people in similar circumstances. That's because people have short, small imaginations about what Blackness is, right? And what is possible for us.
What is Black in your imagination? What is possible for us in your imagination?
Wakanda, nigga. No, but like, seriously, like, honestly, a thing that I come back to, especially
wait. I want to interject to that, and I gotta change this track because that is some hypnotic shit that I cannot. Let's try.
You said too sleepy for our vibe.
It was like doing this weird like. I was like, are we like beaming up to the mothership in the motherfucker? Like, is ET coming?
We might be. I'm about to talk about Octavia Butler, so.
Talk about Octavia. I had to get that spirit had to get out of here right now. In Jesus' name, I pray. It was like a weird like.
Talk about presence.
It was riding like it was like cutting a groove into my soul, and
you're like, this is distracting.
It was like right in the back of the track, and I was like, we don't have to actually live this way. And I want to live my life as an example to you motherfuckers out there, you lovable motherfuckers. If you hear something in the background, it's white people shit to hear it going and then not say anything because, you know, pretend that we have a very polished professional podcast. We don't change the track right in the middle of a discussion. That would be no, like that shit was literally, I was like, Stacia's giving us some really yummy shit. And then all of a sudden I heard,
well, like, you said that's some white people shit.
In between a beat, and I heard it, and I was like, "This is not going to happen in here when I run things." Yes, and okay, so what I was asking about was, what does the Black imagination like? How far can we go in your mind?
I mean, I think that we can go as far as our imaginations will allow us to go. And
okay, but I want you to like try. Like I want you to like extrapolate it out because when we start saying like, oh, like Black people have an imagination, they want to go somewhere too, and then you're like, well, where do they want to go? Well, to places we've never imagined. Well, like what does that look like for you? Like and I know you've done this exercise. You're the right one for this.
So what I meant when I said Wakanda as a symbol is that I think that Black people and all people have a capacity to be extremely innovative if we're allowed the nurturing to seed that creativity. And every time we ostracize a certain population, we're stifling an ability to have the most diverse flourishing of innovation. And so I think we've seen, if we look back to sort of ancient sites of Africa and antiquity, there's lots of things that we still don't understand about how these ancient niggas put shit together. We've got theories, most of which are the most popular ones are by white affecting anthropologists and archaeologists. There's lots of shit we don't know. And so what I'm getting at is that I think that we can completely revolutionize the way our systems work. I mean, social ones. I mean, the way our cities are built. I mean, the way our technology functions. And from a place of egalitarianism, because we carry with us the global weight of oppression as Black people, I think when we innovate, and we're not a monolith, but I think that the exchange with the carryover of oppression in terms of how that impacts our creative aspirations is that I think we're more primed to think about innovation that benefits the masses and ourselves.
Say that last part one more time. We're more. You think we as Black people are more primed?
I think the most more marginalized people in general, because we can talk about all different
Well, I mean,
kinds of
we've
contexts.
demonstrated this. I mean, and that's another. If you've not heard it lately, people who will listen to this later in the review now, when Black people prosper, everyone will prosper. We've had to innovate and thrive in the thick of evil for so long that when we start pulling like George Washington carvers and making everything out of peanuts, the whole world benefits, including your child that had lunch this week on a PB&J. And it's so weird for us to not see that when Black people are dreaming, then we all rise. We've got the receipts. Stacia's reading on David Kwong Phom's comment, which I'll read to those of you who are listening on the podcast tomorrow. In the conservative world, there are inner thinkings already in place of business and society. They consider minor changes to be revolutionary. But once underrepresented people come in and challenge the leaders, the board doesn't actually want to change. They just enjoyed yes and maybe people. I mean, we could spend the next 10,000 hours talking about yes and maybe people. Some of them even token Black and brown people that come in, and we're now seeing a trend. For those of you who are watching and aware, there's a trend of all of these companies and corporations hiring DEI, which stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion specialists of varying degrees, to come in and take these positions to steer the equity and diversity goals of the organization. Well, if these people, as David Kwong Phom has pointed to so graciously, if these people are only yes and maybe people to the white establishment, you're going to see change, but not actually effective change.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say that, like, it takes bravery and guts to build a Black imagination. And I want to take us there because I want to have compassion for the collective struggle at Black imagination. I think you and I, in our tending our own personal relationship, there will be times when both of us are like confused as to why the other doesn't see their own greatness or like see what is possible. And it's just because there's so much trauma, social, on a broad level, institutional, interpersonal, that we experience as Black people, as Black queer people.
We can't even, I mean, just give people inner context into Stacia and I's relationship in the fire we walked through. I don't think that Stacia and I believed that geeky, spiritual, woo-woo, don't give a shit, chill, truthful, honest relationships amongst millennials was a thing of possibility. If I can call a spade really quick and just echo what you're saying, Stacia.
Yeah, we both were pessimistic about it.
I was highly pessimistic that Stacia was actually coming to actually love on me and not waste my time. And we've talked about this. So like it's like one of those things where you don't know who is actually a person of substance to you until you know it. But we really fought against even being in each other's lives because we didn't believe that two Black intellectuals can just kind of
vibe with each other.
Yeah, and that there need not be obligatory drama.
No contest, no competition.
Say what you need to say, bitch. I'm staying. That type of energy amongst Black people is something that we don't even fathom in our imagination. I have asked so many fellow Black creatives over the last 6 months, like, what do you need? What do you want? Like, come on, tell me what's up. And they don't even believe that truth is worthy in the space for a peaceful collaboration even. It's wild because they don't believe that actually like staying and talking things through is actually, to some kind of common end is possible. You may not get everything you want. I may not get everything I want, but we can But that's not even in the imagination.
Right, right, exactly. And so I want to honor and with compassion the level of energy that it takes to actually build your imagination as a Black person, because institutions are,
They coming for you. They coming for you. They're coming
as you
for
can
you.
see, the state of the American healthcare system in the hood. No, but it it is an uphill battle as a Black person to build the imagination, either because of your lived circumstances or just what is happening around us in our communities.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say is that, and I know that, you know, it can seem like, oh, from a nigga that's sitting on their couch with their MacBook or whatever, easy for you to say, that like it really, the shackles really are at a psychic level at this point, more so than a physical one. That's not to honor the fact that there are really people who are wrapped up in the prison industrial complex. Several people very close to me have been. So I'm not saying that from a removed place in a real sense.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is that when we can, even when it doesn't seem possible, can dream for ourselves where we want to be, that's the pathway towards manifesting our truths. That's the pathway towards actualizing ourselves. But the more we get stuck in the trauma loop of believing that our current circumstances are all there ever will be or worse, that is the distraction that white supremacy imposes onto us to stifle our greatness. And it's heavy. It's heavy, but we're powerful and we're resilient.
Here's the deal. I felt a teachable moment come up for me as you were speaking. I need every Black, Indigenous person of color, and every ally who loves them. And I can talk in a second about how on my walk today I was like, people aren't professing their love of Black people, even our allies. Not professing how much they love Black people and they want to see them thrive. They're changing their pictures to Black. They're saying Black Lives Matter. They're giving us facts, but they're not really saying things in the vein, to me, they're not saying things in the vein of, I love Black people and I love you so much, I'm going to do these things. And so your solidarity is bullshit to me. Excuse me. It's coming up. Your bullshit's coming up. It's coming out of me right now.
That throat chakra.
Right.
Unlodging some shit.
Because if you're saying Black Lives Matter, but then going back to your normal affairs, as a white person propped up and steeped in white supremacy, then we're going to start to see your solidarity unravel very quickly. And your slip is going to show very quickly. And there's gonna be toilet paper. There's gonna be toilet paper on your motherfucking shoe as you leave the mall bathroom, bitch. Because we see that you are hiring diversity, equity, and inclusion workers, and you're doing all the performance of not being a racist, but you're not anti-racist in your actions. And so we're gonna begin to kind of separate the wheat from the chaff, as time progresses, and sees who really holds a love for Black people, tolerating Black people, putting up with Black people, having a Black person work on the fourth floor when you work on the third, and passing them in the kitchen when you're heating your fucking fettuccine, leftovers. Like, that's not the relationship building we're talking about in the Black future of my imagination. I quickly want to answer what I believe is capable for Black people. I believe that Black people can walk, and I thought about this today because I was walking, I took a little puff of something special, and I went into the clouds while on Earth. I was just thinking about what was the energy of the moment, and not really, Stacia and I, we do more presence over prep. So I wasn't trying to like figure out what to say. I was trying to figure out like the theme of my life on the 17th of October. And the word that kept coming up for me over and over again was dignity.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt the spirit of a Yanla um, at the same time. And it could be like a meditation that I listened to her, where she's a long years ago, where she's talking about dignity. And I hear her saying, dignity. Like I can hear, the Yanla sound, like dignity, dignity. And so I felt that word come up in my spirit. And what I believe in my Black imagination is that to liberate myself and to liberate my people, will set aside all distractions of who they say and think I am, and live and walk in a life full of dignity. I know who I am. I know what I bring. I know my education. I have humility to be wise about what I know and what I don't know, and pull in people in my community like Stacia, who knows all the things I don't know. And then when she doesn't know, we pull in other people. But like all of that can happen in a place of dignity, like where I'm in my imagination, and pointing also to Wakanda, but Wakanda on earth, not over there, but in my neighborhood. Wakanda on earth as it is in heaven. That's what I fucking want. Wakanda on earth as it is in heaven. I see us actually walking in dignity. And what I love about walking in dignity is that there are Black people that come to mind who I just simply do not want to fuck with. And that's okay. Like, I have no interest in fucking with you. Who, me? Yes, you. I have no desire. And yet you can still walk in dignity, Sister Queen. And I can walk in dignity, Brother King. And all the other Brother Kings and Sister Queens can walk in dignity, because dignity is a thing where it's a way in which you carry yourself as, I'm not going to allow these white people to treat me, dignified me, as if I didn't build everything in this motherfucker. And so I'm going to be kind, but I'm not going to tolerate disrespect. I'm going to launch my ideas. I'm going to come onto this $14.99 live stream with Stacia and put something in the world so that the grandkids that I won't have will be able to listen to it in a time capsule on Mars, because Zuckerberg's archiving all our bullshit. So I'm doing things like this because it is worthy of the dignity of what all of my ancestors went through. This Maya Angelou told us, Dr. Maya Angelou, the esteemed Dr. Maya Angelou, told us that the crown was already paid for. Put it on. So in my vision of what it means to be a strong Black man, and let me be very, very clear, I'm not Captain Save-A-Ho. Some of y'all think I'm here to like save people, or I think I got all the answers. I don't give a fuck about you. Beyond the fact that my compassion Buddha nature says that I have to in order to survive. So then I'm like, okay, I gotta give a fuck about them. And then that brings me to this place of being in a space of like, I can walk in power because I know what I'm trying to like put out. And I'm resonating with other people who are trying to meet me there. And as long as we don't believe everything that they say about us, we're fine. I think the problem happens at the very moment that we believe what they say about us.
Now, yes. Can I interject?
Yes, of course. I've been talking too long anyway. Go on.
I think that is a really important point to bring up, and I will use my own personal example in this, is that while all the fuck shit of institutional racism is very, very true, I also want to say that I think when Black people are tired collectively of being sick and tired, we will organize in a strategic way that enforces our dignity. And I think right now, just where we're at, is that we have not, we're still believing what has been fed to us throughout, the from slavery onward about who we are and what we're capable of. There's still that seed of trauma thriving inside of us where it makes us behave in this reactionary way towards justice, towards, you know, trying to prove in this defensiveness who we are because we don't actually believe it ourselves.
Deep
And
down.
deep down.
That's okay. Can you just pause for a second? That's T. T is that Black people don't believe in themselves the way they puff up to do so. Now, let me be very clear about this so y'all don't get it fucked up. We will still beat your ass. Don't try using the N-word
Buck
around.
if you buck, my nigga, for
Yeah,
real.
don't try using the N-word around us. Don't try playing your white supremacist bullshit. Don't try to cut me in line. Don't try to say I've never. Don't do any of that shit around me. I will beat your ass personally on the principle. That being said, we also don't have a lot of healthy self-esteem because of the way you all treated us for 500 years, 400, 500 years. And so because I called Stacia talking about the Black imagination. I called Stacia earlier in the pandemic and I said, Stacia, I cannot believe that for the last decade of my life, if not more, I've been walking around in life not looking anyone in the eyes. I've been literally either because of my queer identity or my Black identity, I have been walking with my eyes either averted or on the ground or my head hung low because society teaches us to be meek and lowly, be seen and not heard, and serve. And somebody said, you can research it for yourself, somebody said on camera that white people really believe that we serve for the pleasure of either entertaining them or fucking them. That in a lot of white people's minds, we're either that cute little Black friend, dark friend that has all the sassy things to say for their enjoyment, hee hee ha ha, or on their Broadway stage, or we're fucking them in an object of desire and affection. And don't blame me, blame your great granddaddy. If you don't like the words that I'm saying right now, don't blame me, blame your ancestors, white people. And then ask yourself the reason why you continue to perpetuate this violence today on the 17th of October. And what's going to be really, really weird, Stacia, is that I've been muted and I can tell that the algorithm, I've been disappeared to people in the algorithm because I've been shadow listed because I speak very vocally about the issues of Black and brown people. But I'm eventually... they're going to figure out a protocol to let me out of this house. And I'm going to be intentionally in spaces disrupting your shit. Don't invite me to your parties or your get-togethers or anything if you're not prepared to talk about Black liberation or celebrate Black people in that space. Because I'm going to call bullshit on all of it. Because a lot of you are pretending that you want to help us while still sitting on top of your tuffet and muffet. Mm-hmm. And we see you because life has not stopped for you as Black people die. Mm-hmm. You are still doing, if we look at your timeline, we'll see one Black spot. And then your filter that you always use never changed. We see you. And what's crazy about this moment is, I don't know how you feel about this moment, Stacia. I feel like this is a radical moment. I will die saying this. If y'all take me out, you're going to take me out loud mouthing this shit because you took my freedom for 36 years and consciously you took it for like a decade plus, at least 18 years. I've been in the shadows of your fuck shit. You had your hands on my shoulder, societally pressing me down for 18 years. Mm-hmm. And all I offered back was kindness and some good ass music. You know what I mean? If we
Yeah.
think about this logically, all I did was smile at people and sing. I'm not pretending like my smiling and my singing is the best. Is it world class? I feel. Check it out, andrestiff.net.
You
But
should.
but like, it's not the best of the best and it's not the worst of the worst. And yet, we must still put it out into the world. We have to believe more about ourselves. Is that where I was going with this thought?
I don't know. But what I wanted to interject is that circling back to spirituality for me, spirituality has been a real place that has helped me out of my trauma of rigidness in my imagination. Because for me, in my own spiritual practice, which is very eclectic, I think for a while, I've always been a spiritual person, but as a person who is indigenous, Choctaw, and also Black, and didn't ever really vibe with sort of the Christian mantras.
It never took for you?
No, it never took for me. For a little while, I got into like liberation theology, and some like Christian philosophies, but that also didn't really stick. I got into a Black Judaism phase for a long time.
I did that too.
Kabbalah. I'm still on my Kabbalah shit, but I see myself as a mystic because for me, spirituality is very mystical. I can't ascribe it to a particular thing, but
I think the moment you name it, you're wrong.
Right, precisely that. And so the ways in which my spiritual rituals and practice have helped me to build my Black ass imagination is that I first, in my spiritual practice, make regular time for visioning and articulating what I want for myself and ascribing that to tokens, be it crystals, candles, Orisha, ancestors. It's different things depending upon the time and the space and what I'm working through. But
can you say that again to people? Visioning. Get
yes,
this, people.
Visioning. So sometimes I'm actually picturing things in my mind. Other times I'm both picturing things in my mind through meditation and also journaling out things that I want for myself, or writing from the space of having the things that I want. There's different tools that I use in this practice, but what it has helped me to do, and I will say that I've really seen my trajectory towards manifesting the shit that I have been able to vision. This apartment that I'm sitting in right here,
Tell
right
a story.
Now, from the first
Stacia, go on and testify about it.
From the first time you actually interviewed me from Love City Live, when I was sitting in that fucking oppressive ass basement with that evil white man, till now.
Evil white man days.
Till now.
Won't the spirit deliver you out of Egypt?
Truly.
I forgot about that.
But you got to have the imagination for it. And so, I try to share my stories in that, like, I think that this a lot, Andre, as people in leadership positions. When you're in leadership positions, sometimes you can get typecast as this charismatic leader, and people like to feel your energy, but they also like to pretend as if you were handed the things that you have and that you have a silver spoon. And people write all these narratives to justify their own feelings of jealousy and envy, which isn't my business.
They act, and I'm gonna can we just hold your thought? Your thought, clean your thought.
Yeah.
People act like it's easy to push stream on a live taping on a Saturday night, and they just roll their eyes like, oh, like that. They don't realize that you actually have to like go onto YouTube, which is what I did, and like put in like, how do you live stream this bitch called Stacia? And it went, well, for Stacia, you got to push this button and this button and this button and this button. And then that's how we all arrive to our Black imaginative magic. But people like to pretend. I just want to anchor that thought because you said it so casually, people pretend that like there's something like unicorn or like special about your black ass and my black ass when it is just like effort. Like
It's effort. That's the thing.
Sustained effort, like a little bit, like, and there are periods, I must be honest, there are periods where I hate this motherfucker in the past, and I didn't touch it, the project, for like 3 months, and that's okay too. Everything's valid, but it's not like something that we have as exceptional black people. I brandish it a lot. I have a hard time though with black excellence in my black imagination, because there's a line in Queen and Slim, the movie. It's like everyone's all obsessed with the energy of it. Was everyone's so obsessed with black excellence? Why do we got to be excellent? Why can't we just be black? And I love that sentiment, because like just to like get up in the morning and just jump in the shower as a black person is enough. If you shower, I've in COVID been going way too long without showers, and so my blackness is sometimes funky. You don't want to smell me. I smell good today because I showered last night.
Some people like to.
Purposefully. Some people do like to. Some people do, and some people don't. And so,
anyways,
all feelings are valid. Yes. Yeah. I love this. I love it.
Anyways, shit. What was I even saying? Damn.
Oh, see, I told you to hold your thought.
I know, and then I forgot it. I was following you.
Anyway, in our black imaginative spaces, there's a freedom to be any way we choose. And Stacia doesn't even have to find the thought, and I never have to find a thought, because there's something from a black woman that I love to quote. Her name is Lisa Nichols. If you remember her from the Secret videos, which are a little woo-woo, but she's a wonderful performance coach, and I feel like she's a healer and shaman like we are, Stacia. Just, if you don't believe in shamanism, then they're just the people that's trying to put out good energy and good vibes and heal people. She told me on YouTube, because I attend YouTube University, like I'm magna cum laude at YouTube University. I go on there and I learn everything. She said that I had nothing to prove, protect, defend, or hide. Now, if you couple that idea with the fact that I said, like, my imagination for black people is that we walk in dignity. If we walk in dignity with nothing to prove, protect, hide, or defend, that's, I think, pushing towards that freedom and that liberation that was always ours in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Outside of the paradigm of how they think about us, I have removed white people's opinions of me from the center. I've dethroned them from the kingdom of my life. When I go into these interviews next, if I have to go into an interview, a big if I do, it will be in pure authenticity, because my ancestors paid for me to smile freely and to frown freely, and you don't have to like it. And I started to loosen the shackles around my wrist at my last employer, which some other time, if you want teas, just slide into the DMs, because that's some shit. I was publicly called demonic. I was told that my appearance and my headshot on the Skype was demonic looking, which is how a lot of white people feel about the black and brown bodies. Stan Tech.
That's their own evil ass insecurities, but
see, as you start to get free and realize you have nothing to protect, prove, hide, or defend, and somehow your life and your gifts will make room for you, black people, and those who love them. Because I do hold a space where black people can be purely loved, and white people that love them can be in that space. I got a whole staff full of white people who are firm and just love our blackity black asses.
Well, and you really helped me in this, and I really have solidified, I feel like, more in terms of my boundaries around how I negotiate white people in particular, is that, like, if a person isn't actively supporting and nurturing in action oriented ways my Black imagination in some aspect of what that means in my personal life, in my emotional life, in my professional life, you can pick.
She's giving you the quals, y'all. She's giving you the quals. Go for it.
If you're not actively nurturing that as a white person, that's the penance, the bare minimum penance you owe for me to be in relationship with you.
Period.
And period, poo.
Period.
And
if you're not giving me reparations in your time, talent, or treasure, I'm not fucking with you. You're a distraction to me because
honestly, that's how I deal with men as well. I mean, real talk.
I mean, well, I've told you about the 3 Fs. Like, if you're not feeding me, financing me, or fucking me, I don't give a fuck what you have to say. And that's really men and women and Martians and Plutonians and, you know, the whole galaxy. If you're not feeding me, financing me, or fucking me, and by feeding me, I mean like both my mind and my stomach.
Nourishing you, yeah.
Yeah, if you're not doing that, so that's feeding. Financing, if you're not tethered to my accounts, like financially, you know, FDIC insured.
Give me money.
If you're not Venmoing me at interval just to say I love you, if you're not financing, then you have no say. So that's feeding and financing. And then we all know what fucking is. And so if you're not doing that or having that done to you by yours truly, you really don't have a voice here. And I need that to really on record go really deep. And I need, like, I'm a compassionate and loving person. I have no intent to rob a bank or to like hold someone up or to go rogue and cause harm. So because of that, I can really apply these principles in it. But back to your point before I don't know why, but the 3 Fs is something I share with people for real. Like, honestly, you could, for all time and in the time capsule where this recording will go, I stand by that. Like, for those of you under the sound of my voice watching or that will listen in the replay on like 10 different platforms later, if the person is not feeding you in some way, financing you in some way, or fucking you in some way, I would ask you to dethrone their opinions. And sometimes if I'm super generous, I'll say at least 2 out of 3. So you need to be like financing and fucking or feeding and fucking. But that's all depends on me. But like, you got to be in the game in order to have a fucking opinion. That's who I am. This is why like guys slide to me in the DMs, or they'll like on the booty apps, like they'll be in there and like I'll be very, very clear about who I am, and then they'll start trying to have an opinion like very quickly about my life. I'm like,
I ask you.
You can't have an opinion about my life because of the 3 Fs.
Yeah.
But I don't even get that far anymore. Like you can see. Go. What's up?
So yeah. So I was just saying.
You're in the fucking bushes. Thanks everybody for watching over. I see you watching over on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Periscope. This is the Love City. This is not the Love City. This is taking up space with Stacia and Dre. I'm used to being in my other footprints.
A Love City Arts production.
It is a Love City Arts production with the fabulous Stacia J. Turner, my personal environmental activist, thought leader, and really a visionary. Stacia actually is a visionary.
It's ironic because a bitch is blind.
You should actually trademark that. The blind visionary.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I mean, Stacia is legally blind, cannot see shit, and cannot hear me now.
So I can't hear you. I was laughing so hard.
I was like, even further impaired herself, and is still a visionary. And yeah, this is what we do here. David Kwong Pham is saying, time capsule is in my brain and heart. This guy, he's so sweet. Our friend and buddy, David Kwong Pham. We'll give you a shout out now. Okay, so check out Tour the Musical by David Kwong Pham. He does this wonderful work of synthesizing the world of physics, so the world of science and physics with musical theater.
And musical theater, black holes. Yeah. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Yes, Stacia. David is something. She clearly craves it.
It would be ironic if I was cast as a black hole, though.
As a who?
A black hole.
I think that's what he calls you, though.
Yes, that's why I said that. The layers, my nigga, the layers.
But the other night I was like, yeah, black hole just sucks up all the air in the fucking room.
Rude.
I was like, if I said that, then people would not know our vibe and think that I was like coming for you.
He'd be mean to her.
Right, exactly. He says he's fed. He's fed. Oh, he's fed. Well, that's one out of 3, David.
Great.
What do you say?
I was just gonna say that, like, yeah, it's really important, I think, for Black people to make sure that we are surrounding ourselves with people who are fanning the flames of our imagination. Mm-hmm. And that's an expectation I have set for myself now moving forward. And as I've experienced in my professional settings, as I was alluding to, like, I'm no longer interested in trying to argue towards what I can vision and dream to be true about the way I see environmental systems, human systems working together, the ways I see the possibilities for the Black community to be self-sufficient in the way we manage our natural resources. And so people will either follow me and join me in that conversation, or they won't. And I just don't really have time to argue anymore about that. Anymore. And what my personal, I think a personal gift that I have that gives back to the people around me is that I can see with people the possibilities for them. And I'm really good at asking the questions about what people want for themselves, because I've seen the possibilities of what can happen in a trajectory when you can expand your mindset about what is possible for yourself. Every boundary I feel like that I've come against has really only been about mindset. Like, honestly, every time I am able to get really focused and clear about a thing that I want, it eventually manifests. Like I was saying, from the basement to where I'm at in this apartment in Ward 7 DC. Like,
likewise.
You know, and so I want to nourish the people around me and not just be like, well, I got mine, nigga, like, good luck with you and your imagination. Like, It's a responsibility for us to tend each other's imagination and not be in this crabs in a barrel scarcity mindset bullshit. We have to tend and befriend each other's visions and dreams and show up for it, not just to show up for each other's visions and dreams in a serious way.
I'm gonna say this out loud. I don't give a fuck about a like. I don't give a fuck about a follower. In my ecosystem and the way I live in the world, followers and likes aren't real. The only thing that's real is that I'm talking to Stacia right now, and we are disseminating our thoughts about the world, contributing to light and love and liberation. We're putting it out to people who hear it when they hear it. There's 4 people watching right now, and there'll be a few hundred that hear it later in the podcast. Those are the only people that fucking matter. We really have this really weird, fucked up idea about the current social currency and what's true. I don't care who's watching my stories. I don't care who's liking my shit. I'm not watching me. Let me be very clear. Those of you who ear hustle in this motherfucker, me not liking your shit is no indication of my feelings about you at all. I don't give a fuck about this game called Facebook and Instagram and all of these spaces enough to actually allow it to push and pull me in and out my vision. But if you want to come into the DMs and talk about how we can build networks of support for creatives and community and love on people, y'all should see the way that we cry and love on each other from afar in these programs weekly. That's what I'm about. Fuck your like. But they've gotten us really, really hypnotized by the follower count and the likes. You actually think you're better than me because you have double my followers. And I know that you shit just like I do. And I hope it's fibrous. I hope you're eating your fiber. And if you don't, get some fucking Metamucil, bitch. But your follower count doesn't matter to me. And people get really, what are you going to say to calm me down?
I was just going to say it's also about, going back to Adrienne Marie Brown, as I often do in Emergent Strategy. And I will drop that I, again, will resurge a reading collective for leaders who really want to continue delving into that text. But she really talks about critical connections and how people who are in social justice movement work can get really convinced in this mindset that like there's got to be this critical mass for any of the things that we do to matter in this
and when
direction.
Stacia says critical mass, she means like 100 people in attendance or 1,000 people in attendance or 1 million people in attendance.
If we don't have X amount of people to show up for this protest, if we don't have X amount of people who are voting on this particular thing, we're not having impact. And Adrienne Marie Brown encourages readers to think more so on the power of critical connections and how a small but tightly woven knit group of critically connected people, the right vibes, the right mindset, when you get that energy of love and strategy together, it's powerful. But the really dangerous, divisive aspect that people can fall into with social media is getting those little caught up on the highs and lows of the like dopamine hits rather than shedding all of your care about how many likes or followers you got and focusing on trying to create real connections and communities with people like we're doing in Won't You Be My Neighbor, and also just the Love City Art collective and network.
And not for nothing, I don't give a fuck if it's Love. I run Love City as the ED, executive director and artistic director, but like I don't give a fuck if it's Love City. I want people.
Yeah, just as people.
I want you looking at. We all know. This is T. Only you know who is looking back at you when you brush your teeth in the morning. That's only you. Dre ain't there. Stacia ain't there. It's just you. And what we're trying to figure out over here, if I may do this, what we're trying to do is create critical connections where if you don't like who you see, you know that on Thursday night, you're going to see someone that builds you up at one of our events. Or if you see something you don't like to see, you can tune into something like this and hopefully pick up something affirming,
Right. And I think that like people don't realize that like building.
But I'm sorry, not for the like though, not for the like, for the like, so that
for the connection.
Yeah.
Like so that you remember you're not alone and you're not alienated, even though we're in a fucking global pandemic. Like
that part. And Zuckerberg keeps trying to pull me towards watching the followers and the likes. And I'm like, but that doesn't feel as good as just sitting with Stacia in a space where the sun just refuses to set. Like that's like the eternal sunset kind of space. Like
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to say that like, I've said this before, I think on the previous podcast, but like I've really been made out a liar about what kind of community can be built across these digital platforms. I've actually found more resonance and connection during this pandemic than I've had found in a long while. And that shocked me because I am very much so a Luddite, as I often say.
Because you're like averse to technology?
Well, and especially in turn, I see it as a tool and I appreciate it as a tool, but I can be rigid in my thinking about sort of social dynamics. I'm all about that physical, energetic exchange. Right. For me, like that's my preference.
Wait, what did you just tell us though?
But
you said you're all about that physical energy exchange. Was that like you telling us that you're a hoe?
I mean, there's no shame about that and my thirsty ass. But also, I'm just saying that like I appreciate the sort of like one-to-one and just like group dynamic of being together. I'm old-fashioned. I have been less quick to adapt to just like being so heavy on text and video, whatever, and like feeling satiated by just that as a social interaction. But the thing I'm realizing is that it wasn't the technology, it was the shallowness of the connections, right?
Okay, say that one more time, please.
It was not the technology, it was the shallowness of the connections. And
Right.
now my imagination about what is possible in terms of the kinds of relationships that can be built across these technologies is awakening and unfurling.
This is the future. I hope that you all know that what we are doing right now, whether you roll your eyes about it or not, because you think that you would be in the club instead of being here in normal times, this that we are experiencing right now is the future.
Mm-hmm.
This is here to stay. It's not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
Mm-hmm.
return. As long as I can sit here with my White Claw and chat with Stacia and connect with just the people that are about light, love, gratitude, encouragement, equipment, and empowering people and getting Black people free from the chains in our mind. As long as that exists, this ain't going nowhere. This is the space, because then David Kwong Pham comes in here talking about how he has a time capsule in his brain and his heart. Talking about how he said, you have all the light, past and present, inside us. Reminds me of this like artistic workshop that I want to start called Stardust, where we recognize that we're all stars, right? All of us are stars, but we're also dusty motherfuckers.
Speak for yourself.
No, yeah, sure. And I want us to be able to gather and read our poetry and sing our songs, recognizing that we're simultaneously stars and dust. What the fuck is wrong with you? Just sing your song. And that's going to happen in digital spaces. Well, Zoom events are not real events, says your grandma, ho.
Must have not been to one of our events then, bitch.
Exactly, because spoken word made way for recordings, which made way for radio. David Kwong Pham saying, "Let's supernova." Look, Bubbas, we're going to supernova. You're on the team, so let's go. Spoken word made way for radio. Radio made way for TV. TV over the air made way for cable. Cable made way for Remember when Netflix was sending fucking disc to your house?
Oh my god, in the mailbox.
And some of those envelopes were crispy white, and some of those bitches were dingy. And we
because I spilled coffee on them.
Coffee wasn't the only thing you spilled on them. It's not just you. Like, it's like, but we did that, and then it went to on demand, and now they just released this 5G technology for iPhone, where like it's going to be just super, super fast, like connectivity in your hands. We evolve. All of the technology is coming so that if you want to meet with people who are crocheting on a Thursday, you just go into the database and say, who's crocheting on a Thursday? And then you go into this room of people from all over the world that are crocheting on a Thursday. A la carte joy, if you want it. You could push against it and be like, oh, well, who the fuck is this dude? Or you could do what David Kwong Pham and Stacia and I have done. Stacia has never met David Kwong Pham. I've never met physically in person David Kwong Pham. Can't wait for
That's so weird to think about, because we feel so intimate now. Well, can't speak for David, but like
it's a new future. It's a new future where it's like critical connections can be built. David Kwong Pham is helping us with our new arts projects and acting project and theater projects. And he's doing all of this in a state miles away. I hope to meet him one day, but it's not critically important that I meet him today, because our work and the work of the other 16 staffers of ours is just moving this love thing forward. So I just want to anchor this all as we land this plane. I thank everybody for watching and hanging out with us tonight. I just want to say, like, this is what the Black imagination looks like. It looks like bold artists like Stacia and myself and you going on. I dare you, if you have something really truly significant and remarkable to say in the world, Go on your Instagram. We know you have one. Go on, write down. Here's the formula, so you don't think that we're fucking special. We write down. Stacia does it before the show. I do it during. We write down about 5 things that we want to talk about in here. And then we gather in like energy to raise the vibration publicly of what's happening in.
I mean, don't think everyone is this Black excellence. I mean, don't get it twisted.
It is worked for. And we talked about this earlier. There is an effort required to be Stacia J. Turner and Andre motherfucking Stith. That being said, we love, and this is why Stacia and I will never part, because we recognize that the magic of you is very special. Mm-hmm. And if your mama didn't tell you or your daddy didn't tell you, it's okay. Your magic is very special. And there's someone that is looking for you to be the rainbow in their storm cloud. And I don't want you, my friends. It is my job as a leader in these ecosystems that we play in, including the taking up space footprint. It is my work to make sure that you know, and that Stacia and I encourages you in this work to know that your imagination is not something that's just like a far-fetched dream. I'm here to tell you, and she's here to tell you, that the vision boards on your refrigerators with ex-husbands come true. Mm-hmm. And I can't be remiss, and some people are going to think that I'm full of myself and that this is a masturbatory moment, but I don't care. 3 F's, remember? My ex-husband, a white man, and his white friends laughed at my Black imagination in Henderson, Tennessee. Not all of them. I see you, Beth. You were very supportive and got me out of there under cover of darkness, and I'll ever be grateful. But the rest of those white people there, a lot of them did not. They knew that I was a singer, but they didn't understand why a picture of the Broadway theater was actually on the fridge in the house. That, like, the fact that I was living there in this foreign place with this new husband, meeting his friends, a lot of them, and his support network, when they come over to the house, like, what is that? What are all these pictures on the fridge here? Tennessee. West Yikes. Tennessee. What are all these pictures on the fridge? Said Todd.
That sounds like some Get Out type shit.
Child, and I said, that is my vision. That is what I want to do in my future. I want to eat a single ingredient. There was like a picture of a apple and a vegetables. I was committed to cleaning up my diet and like eating one ingredient whole food things for my health and for the stability of my mind. Some of y'all are eating honey buns and wondering why you're fucked up and depressed. Maybe if you put the honey bun down and ate an apple, then, I'm not being prescriptive here, but like it's all connected. But that was on my refrigerator. And so was the Broadway theater and music notes and a bunch of other things that I dreamed for. And they laughed at me about it. And we've come here tonight to talk about the Black imagination and what it means to still vision for yourself in the face of the haters. Mm-hmm. I want to create safe spaces for creatives because I know that you can't tell your families what you really want to be in your life. Mm-hmm. That's T. Love City exists because some of you are in the closet, and I'm not blaming you for it, but some of you are afraid to tell your family the creative ideas and the love and the creativity in your heart. You're afraid of it. So tell us, like, lean in on us, because I'm a witness that the Broadway theater that is on, and this is not a flex, I'll give a fuck, Broadway's closed through next September, so I ain't got nothing on
they signed my checks.
Exactly. People are like, oh, well, here he comes with the Broadway flex again. No, we are unemployed musical theater professionals. But the same theater, the picture of the theater that was on the fridge in my ex-husband and I's house, it was a picture of the view from the stage looking out. And I saw it for myself 6 years later. Do not let these ashy people, friends, discourage you from the love and gifts in your heart. If you hear nothing else from me, it ain't got shit to do with me. I don't care if you credit me or not. I don't give a fuck. But do not let, it is my mission to let you know, do not let these ashy people, and ashy is a thought process. It's not a skin color. White people.
Ashy is a lifestyle.
Ashy is a lifestyle. Do not let these ashy assholes talk you out of your blessings.
Truly.
Don't let them ruin your day. Have a better imagination for yourself. White people too. And I'm only loving on the white people that love black people. If you don't truly love black people, then shut my shit off. Turn it off, you bitch ass motherfuckers. Don't give a fuck about your like anymore. But if you are a black person or a white person, we see it for you. Like we want you to really believe that you matter, and that you have something in you that makes us smile. It's been the joy of my life. We're picking on David a lot tonight, and this ain't even a Love City Arts thing, except for that it is. But like, I love to see David in particular like blossom in the company of us.
Me too.
Because when and people don't like it when you say that, because like, who the fuck do you think you are? I'm the person that literally loves David, and David was a stranger, and we nurtured that motherfucking relationship. So much love for him. And I watched him be like the physicist wondering if he was accepted to being just a dude that is always in the spaces, hanging out and loving, having a good time, and contributing his own magic. You know, the time capsule in his brain and heart. I wish that I knew 10 years ago that showing up in your life as yourself, alive. I'm not saying faking. I'm not saying your number one Instagram filter that gets you the most likes. I'm saying authentic presence of joy is all you'll ever need, friends. If you figure out the things that make you happy in your life, like something you're passionate about making, like a lot of y'all got passionate about making bread. What if you made one of those what if you
can't with that.
No, but listen, if the white people are passionate about bread, what if you took a loaf with a post-it on it that said Black Lives Matter? We ain't going to eat it because we don't trust other people's fucking cooking.
Real talk.
But take that loaf, that sacrificial loaf. You got more money than us than your head start in the race. So take your sacrificial loaf to your black friend or neighbor and say, hey, I want to nourish you both physically and spiritually. Here's my number on the post-it on the Black Lives Matter loaf of bread. And you just reach out to, I'm not talking to you, Siri. Love you too, David. And just here's this loaf of bread, and just don't say it out loud. But here's this loaf of bread that I know your black ass ain't going to eat because black people don't eat out of everybody's kitchen. But this is my offering of goodwill towards you in the community, like actual hands and feet. Your text messages are cute, but your care actually. We
can and befriend our visions and dreams. That's what we need. Can and befriend us and our visions and dreams. And I don't have any time anymore for shallow placations of how you care about me and how you're there for me or how you're here to listen. I don't trust you to listen or to understand me or be there for me unless you are tending and befriending my visions. And my visions are egalitarian, so they will help all of us. That's the thing. That's the truth of the matter, honestly.
This is a turning point for me and America, because now my white allies have been drawn out into the yard. Both the racist and the allies have been drawn out into the yard, and they're both identifying as, I will light a cross on fire on your lawn. That's one type of white person, and you all look the same. And then there's another kind of white person, and you all look the same, that is saying, I stand for black lives. Black lives matter. Okay. So if that is true, we're going to see over the next weeks and months and years whether you're really there. I've watched you feeble, feckless motherfuckers disappear out of my life in the last 6 months. So in my Black liberated mind and in my Black liberation, and in my Black imagination, there are white people who show up and then consistently stay for the work.
Also, though, Andre, I want to just stop you right here. We both did this, and this is not to drag you, but like it's funny that even we're still shedding this in.
Drag me.
I'm dragging both of us. I want us to also stop just talking in reaction to white people, right? Because when we start talking in reaction to the struggles of pushing against whiteness, we're doing the thing where we're like getting off center from what we came to talk about, which is the Black imagination. And it's relevant to a certain extent, and we both did it. So it's not just on you. But like this is the thing this is what white supremacy does, right? This is what white supremacy does.
It circles you back to it's fuck shit.
Because we're still trying to exercise out the emotional trauma of having to say, I am this. I am worthy. I do have this dignity. I do have this personhood. But I want us all to start being in relationship. And this is the responsibility that white people around who say they actually want to be for Black lives, as I circle back to white people against myself.
They're here. They're everywhere.
But asking how you can service Black people's visions and dreams. Asking those prompting questions, because y'all need to vision and dream about the Black imagination as well, which is not just us dying in the streets. We all have to vision and dream about that, because when the most marginalized person is free, we're all free.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's very funny how everybody can easily call to mind and imagine a Black person dying in the street, but they can't fathom that we would have a Black Wall Street or a community all to ourselves where we thrived. Every time we've tried to thrive in our own nuclear communities and love on ourselves, white people have come in and poked holes in it and tore it apart. But here's the deal. To Stacia's pointing, and I hear you, my sister friend, and I take your rebuke openly into the face on Al Gore's internet. I'm done talking about and pandering to those people. There's nothing for me over there. And the only lie that was ever told and believed was that we needed them for our survival and for our thriving.
Yeah, because I'm glad that you said that, because I have had a radical mindset for quite a while, but I believed that I had to be on stealth. We even had a conversation with my scary ass the other week. Like I've have this fear in my mindset that like, well, when the whiteys see that, I'm not actually white and I'm just undercover radical ass nigga, they're gonna come for me. And that fear is real because we know about conspiracies that have actually happened.
Kill the witch.
But I mean, real talk.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I ain't never scared. Like, why am I moving with that energy? Because it's so much freer. And the ancestors have my back and ride for me, especially as I stand in my truth and power without fear and imagine and dream for myself what is possible on building some pyramids type shit.
We built pyramids.
Not to get hotepi, but
no, a Zoom call is not going to destroy us because we built pyramids. And I think that should be the mic drop that Black people use, for the next 100 years. You don't think that I'm gifted enough or walking in my gift enough? I built a fucking motherfucking pyramid.
Oh, I have a professional colleague of mine who tried to act as if actually, I'm not even going to go on that tip because it's petty and I know who I am. What I want to pivot to in my energy. See how quick? That's called magic. I shifted that energy.
That's Black liberation.
Black liberation.
Yeah.
A thing that also has really helped me in my practice towards growing my own Black ass imagination is to make sure that I'm being mindful of what I'm consuming and also having limited consumption of visual media. So for me personally, and different people's brains and comprehension levels are different, and I respect that. But for me, it's been very important to make regular time for Black fiction, sci-fi and fantasy um, stories, especially Octavia Butler. I'm really on River Solomon right now, and on Kindness of Ghosts, because when I read these words of the Black imaginary, not only am I starting from a Black ass imagination, my Black ass imagination is also constructing a web, an architecture of these worlds, which also leads me to have more language to construct my own imaginations. And so it is an energy, or it's an exercise for everyone to put down the Netflix, right? Because we're tired. We're all tired. And I veg out and binge watch shit just like the rest of us. So I don't want to say that I'm the lofty, like, person who's reading all the books and never watching trash TV. That's not what I'm trying to say. But what I am trying to say is that I see that when I dedicate more time to activities that are really helping me to construct my own imagination, Black imagination, and what is possible for a Black people that's not steeped in trauma and violence, it helps me to have a larger vocabulary in general for what I can dream for myself.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to give you the last word before we head out of here. If we can't fix 500 years of slavery and evil and terrorism that is still perpetuated in our daily Black ass lives, if we cannot solve it instantaneously, what would be your vision for Black people and anyone who feels underfoot of whitey for the next 7 days? What would be in your toolkit? Because we don't know. I'm not convinced that I can survive white supremacy forever. So what would be the gift that you would give me for the next 7 days?
I would say that wherever a person is at with the tools that you have, one of the traditions that is steeped in the Black tradition is being able to compost the fuck shit that is the Black experience into creative expression. From chalk on the sidewalk to street art to drawing on, to Basquiat type shit, to whatever means necessary to your creative expression. I mean, I think it's Audre Lorde who said something about, like, it's our responsibility as Black people, I'm paraphrasing, but to speak for ourselves, because if we don't, they will kill us and say that we said nothing. And so
wow.
I take that to mean that it is my responsibility to my ancestors to live my life fully, even if it's only until tomorrow, taking pictures, writing poems, painting watercolors, collecting rocks and leaves, crocheting, doing whatever, building in as much time in the fabric of my life to live freely through creative expression. And I think sometimes because we haven't been patterned to exercise that we can afford ourselves that simple pleasure of creating at whatever means we have, we just let the drones do it for us, right? And then they're brainwashing us all the while. But I want to challenge each of those of you who are listening to and or watching us to sit down with yourself and think about what means you have and if you are using them.
And if you are using them, it looks like Stacia froze. I think the thought that she was going towards was if you're using them for the empowerment and the betterment of the communities that you're in. Anyway, I'm gonna take this as an opportunity to let you all know that I am so grateful for you being here on this pop-up episode number 3 of the Taking Up Space podcast. Looks like Stacia's rejoining really quickly as we say goodbye. Feel free to check us out. This is Taking Up Space podcast under the umbrella of Love City Arts. This is our ultra black, a super, Black Lives Matter. We're gonna fuck shit up for love division of the city. We're gonna build a true Wakanda, because I've been here for 36 years and I don't want to go another 36 with, in the same bullshit. So if we're going to radically shift this thing and change this thing, and I'm not talking vote, but like it ain't going to be just votes. We're going to have to actually vote and then actually love on one another. And Stacia and I are committed through Taking Up Space to specifically love on Black, Indigenous people of color. Sometimes those who love them are in the mix, but this is a dedicated space for carving out conversation about what it means to be Black in America right now, the fuck shit that entails, and then how you watch us get free. Because here's the deal. I'm gonna say this before we go, just as the last my closing thought. You will watch us prosper.
They doing it now, nigga.
As you have always watched us prosper. Stacia, myself, and any other brown person you can think about. We just keep going despite how you feel weak about who you are and our presence and try to tear us down or withdraw your support. That's cool. Because we are magic. Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing about our magic is that you've never known us to not share our magic with others. The hoarding shit is classically white supremacist.
It really is. That's white people shit.
White people shit is hoarding. But every time Black people have had love, what have we done? We've said, Stacia, let's start a podcast where we talk about how much more we as Black people could love ourselves on earth as it is in heaven. Mm-hmm. And let's broadcast it out so that somebody can just think something different about their beautiful Black ass life. Mm-hmm. And we do this in the face of forces in 2020 that would seek to destroy us. And not destroy us in a hypothetical way or in an imaginary way. Let's talk about imaginations. There are certain white people, and some of y'all sit at dinner tables with them, that would see us perish. But I want you to take note in the time capsule that on Saturday, October the 17th at 10:56, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun. 55 Eastern, Black people and those in community that love them because they love themselves were free. Mm-hmm. And that's where I want to land this tonight. I want everybody who listens now and those who will listen to the podcast on iTunes and Android and Caster and all those places. It ain't about me. I'm just trying to put us in spaces so that people can get this message. Just breathe on the facts. Huh?
And I appreciate you for that.
I'm just trying to be in all the spaces because someone's hurting in the spaces, right? Mm-hmm. So if we're in the spaces talking about how it's okay for you to love yourself, then maybe a few people will be like,
spiritual warriors,
exactly.
Defending our brothers and sisters and sisters.
Yes. So breathe on that. Breathe on this moment of us loving our Black ass imaginations. And if you don't have a Black ass imagination, I want to invite you to borrow one. It just so happens that I have a wonderful chest of black ass. It's my visualization. I have a beautiful chest here of black ass imaginations. They're beautiful. And so if you'll take one for the next 2 to 3 minutes with your loving permission, we're just going to put ourselves into the mode of looking at and beholding our beautiful black ass imaginations. Nowhere to be, nothing to run from.
Can I just say something real quick? This made me think of when my little sister was like 9. She decided for Halloween she wanted to be a ladybug vampire. And I thought that was so random, but also so beautiful because Black imagination is beautiful.
She was a what?
A ladybug vampire.
A ladybug vampire.
Shout out, Nyla.
Shout out, Nyla. We love you. We love you so much.
And your Black imagination.
And your black imagination. I love you. Hold your black imagination or your borrowed black imagination in your hands and see it along with the vampire ladybug as something that is beautiful. And friends, we get an opportunity in this life daily of how we want to choose our experience. Do we want to shrink down into ourselves, into deeper dark states of depression? Or do we want to accept the loving opportunity to just stand in our joy, to stand in our love, and to stand in our appreciation? And so if you're ever at a Love City Arts anything, you're going to find that I do this thing, and Stacia's used to it, where I just drop into these moments of calling us to 1 minute to the top of this fresh new baby hour. We will never have this minute again. And Stacia and I can sit on here for hours. We've been on here for like 2 hours talking about Black liberation, the Black imagination. But if we don't pause for presence in our lives, I really feel, Stacia, that this thing is going to get away from us. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't stop to like put down our phones and our devices. I know a lot of you are watching me on phones and devices, but if we don't take moments even in those spaces, because this is the new normal, so we don't take moments to go, how sweet it is to be loved by you. Mm-hmm. And to just drink in the gift that the ancestors have given us of being able to just log on, share space with people who have deep resonance or not. But our community is growing because they can tell that like we're not with the fuck shit and we just want to survive. Mm-hmm. And more than survive,
let us live and thrive.
And we want to thrive. We want to thrive. So we thank you all for watching tonight. This was a very, very long one with your pop-up, so you never know. You know, they're like fucking Pokemon. You're
never gonna let me live that.
No, down. It's cool. It's cool. It's like Pokemon. You got to catch them all. So for those of you who have drunk in the love that is Stacia J. Turner and Andre Stith tonight, we're just two creative partners that decided that we didn't want to sit on the sidelines and let only the assholes play on the field. David Quackpop says, thank you for the present gift of Lady Bugcula. Lady Bugcula, like Lady Dracula, Lady Bugcula. He's so funny. Thank you for being a part of our community, David.
I love David.
We love David so much. Thank you so much for being a part of our community. Thank you so much for everybody who watched tonight. We're just two creative partners who love each other, who fought so hard for a relationship that strives to just bring all of us closer to the places we're supposed to be fully realized humans on Earth. I don't really know how this is going to turn out for us, but I know it's going to turn out for me very Black. And I know it's also going to turn out for me needing not to be smaller, but to be taking up space in the world. So Stacia and I gather whenever we gather to just be present, to say our hearts. And if there's resonance, we love you. If there's not resonance, we love you. Get your shit together, but we love you. And we're all leading each other home. Like we're all training each other. Stacia knows things I don't know. I know things Stacia don't know. There are people who are watching right now, people who listen. All of y'all know shit, but we don't know. How can we build a bridge, get over our petty shit, and then start actually, we're the adults now. We're the adults now. No one's coming to save us. So how do we roll up our sleeves, push live stream on a Saturday night, share heart, and hopefully keep walking in the direction of love. Thanks everybody for watching episode number 3. Stacia J. Turner on the ones and the twos over there. I'm Andre. This is a Taking Up Space podcast. We'll be back soon.
Absolutely.
The first week we talked, last week we talked, the last time we gathered, we talked about, what did we talk about? It was like,
organizing from truth, not resistance.
That's it. And then today we've been talking about the Black imagination. We'll cook up something for the next time. Please be happy and healthy and free of all suffering. And just know that when Black people are truly liberated and free, then we'll all be. Stacia, what's your final word?
I love you all. Please indulge your artistic creativity on behalf of yourself and all of us.